Hi. Welcome to the Human Design for Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Yvette Mayer, and this show's for you if you're done with cookie cutter marketing and ready to build your personal brand in alignment with who you really are. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome to the first of 12 episodes where I am sharing 12 highlights and lessons from 2024. I'm going to be doing this 1 month at a time. And if you listen to the intro episode, I want you to be following along and contemplating what happened for you month by month with me, so that this is not just me doing some storytelling and sharing some at times profound lessons, but that you're also taking the opportunity to reflect on your year and to process, clear space, and open yourself up for a more expansive and abundant year ahead. So we're going to start with my very first month and first highlight and lesson, January 2024. Well, January for me started with a very difficult beginning to the year, in that I was supposed to be in Bali on January 1st. But when I arrived to Sydney Airport on the 31st of December, ready to go at 6 a.m. after a super early start, I was turned back because of the condition of my passport. And so what was going to be my highlight, which is my trip to Bali, and it still will be, didn't go to plan, so to speak. So that was how my year started. I ended up in Sydney for New Year's Eve. I had to wait to get a new passport. I did end up going to Bali. But first, I had to go through this disappointment, recalibration, and thinking about, oh, why do these things always happen to me? That's right, I'm born under gate 3, difficulty at the beginning, low frequency of chaos rather, high frequency of innovation. And look, I'm going to actually start this episode with the lesson, which is very much about how I've learned to work with my design when it comes to particular placements, and my sun personality, sun gate on the personality side being the 3, it's 3.5, is a very present energy for me, and it is for you as well. The sun carries 70% of the impression in our system of all the energetic forces at work across all the planets. And so you are going to find that this is the most prominent energy. And that's why we also work with this as in the way that we show up as a personal brand. It's like our imprint in how we work, the lessons that we repeat over and over and over again that we're here to bring through. So for me, that is that things feel hard before they get good. And January was no exception. It felt hard before it got good. It felt like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh, why does this always happen to me? And then, right, of course, it's the beginning of my trip. Of course, this has gone wrong right now. Let's have a really good think about how can we pause, not react, but respond in a way that makes it even bigger and better. And so that's what I did. During that period of having to wait to get into the passport office and get my new one, I decided that I would not go on a 7-day trip as planned, but I would extend for a second week, and I wouldn't push back starting work for the year, but I would work from Bali in the second week of January. And not only that, but because of the way things had gone, that I would actually take the opportunity to book into a more bougie, not hotel, but villa, where I could take a lot of B-roll content, which is such an amazing thing to have up your sleeve for Instagram in particular. And so it became part holiday, part work trip. And this was genuinely what I did. I put myself into an incredibly beautiful space where I on every single day, got up and got up before anybody else in this estate was awake. It was a villa, but it was how would I explain this? It was like 8 villas in one estate or compound, not hotel rooms, but hotel room style. So there were other people around in their own private spaces, but I wanted to use the backdrops, the stairs, the beautiful skyline. And so I got up every day before everybody else was up, when it was also cooler, and took footage of myself every day that I stayed there. And it was actually fun because exotic, different location, beautiful backdrops. I also bought myself a few new pieces of clothing to wear that kind of went with my brand colors, but also the backdrop. And I had a lot of fun. It was super creative. And so that was a bit of a highlight, actually, and to start the year there in this energy that felt very abundant and creative. That being said, I did have another major challenge. So there's another lesson. There's another lesson in January. So as well as this reminder that when things are difficult, it's not a time to be reactive, but to take a beat, come from a different place. And for me, that's coming from a more innovative place, and joy and play, which is really the citic state of the three, is how do I make this fun and like an exciting opportunity, not a struggle. So that was the first lesson. The next one is more practical and important for you as a business owner. The second thing that happened in January whilst I was in Bali is I did not have a VPN on my computer, which I didn't even really know what that was, if I'm honest. And I'll explain what I'm talking about in case you are not aware of this either. And so I was working sometimes in cafes, and I actually had my computer hacked. Well, what they got into, which is weird, and I still don't understand why, but my Canva got hacked. And Canva is so important to me in how I run my business. It's a piece of tech or a system that I use every day. Every day. I barely use anything like Microsoft or even Google Docs in anywhere near the frequency that I use Canva to create not just content, but written documents, contracts, pre-recorded classes. I do so much in Canva, and I have come to rely on it not just as a creation tool, but it's where it's all stored. I don't download it and upload it elsewhere, because for me to edit it, it actually needs to be in Canva. So when this happened and I lost access to my account, I was midway through some pretty big projects at the time. I was doing some consulting work, helping some people with their marketing strategies, which was something I decided to try. And actually, I did a couple of them and realized that it wasn't where I wanted to put my energy. But at the time, I was midway through a couple of these projects, and all of the thinking and the creation of the actual work was in Canva, and I couldn't get to it. So that was, in some ways that was worse than what happened on the like 31st of December, because it went for weeks. I actually didn't get access back to Canva for weeks. And in the beginning, it was really stressful as I tried to get hold of Canva, to escalate it, to share with, oh, look, I looked for help everywhere. And honestly, it took, I think, about 3 to 4 weeks for me to get it back. And it was one of those things where in the beginning, it felt like too big a mountain to climb. And then I found workarounds. I had clients send me back work that I'd shared with them that they downloaded. I had to redo some things. I had to go into other filing systems where I'd sent attachments and get them back. Like, over time, my nervous system calmed as I found ways to access my work. And I also realized that I could trust the universe to bring this back. Like, it was my work. I'd done nothing wrong. I'd broken no rules. yes, they'd gotten into my account, but I knew for sure that Canva still had all of my information, all of my documents. Like it's not like they were deleted. I just couldn't access them in that moment. So I just had to trust that in time, this was going to be okay, that I was going to get it all back. And the best thing I could do in that moment was just release control, let go, maybe work a little less hard than I'd been intending to because I was missing a lot of things like my brand assets. Like just take a beat and think about if you use Canva a lot, all of the things that you do in there that you would feel quite hamstrung without. That was my world. And now I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. My God, that was crazy. But I have no emotional response. It's just like, it's fine. I eventually, it all worked out. I got every single thing back. I'm more careful now. So the biggest lesson from this was I now have a VPN, which means that when I'm in Bali, it looks like I'm actually connected to an Australian web address, and it's, look, I don't know all that much about it, but I believe it's either not hackable or it's just interrupts that system of getting into the local Wi-Fi system and being able to sneak your way, hacking style, into my everything that I have on my drive, not my drive, but on my system. So this lesson is for you. Do be careful when you're traveling. Do have protection in place so that you have a level of safety and you are not exposed to this kind of risk, because I can tell you it is not good. It's not good. Now, the human design transits in January. I always am working with the transit, so I thought that might be a fun thing to do as I go through these month by month highlights and lessons. In the early part of the month, it's almost like there's a lag from the previous year. So early January, the energy is about setting goals and looking ahead and getting kind of clear on what you want to create. But then over the next couple of weeks, the gates have more of a slow down to make sure that that's actually where you want to go, and a bit of space for course correction, a bit of opportunity for, yeah, I thought that was a good idea, but is it actually aligned? Am I actually lit up, or do I feel satisfied? Is this going to work with my own energy, or do I need to rethink, iterate a little bit more and make it even better? And so that, knowing that was going on, that gave me a little bit of, you know what, I'm actually meant to, with this background frequency, be slowing down, not going guns blazing in January. So for this to happen at that time of year meant that I could just accept that that's what it was about. Then instead of freaking out, that it was a moment in time to be more in the energy of looking at the big picture, being more on my business than in my business, allowing my team to really support me through that time with backing things up and finding workarounds, and enjoying my January, both when I was in Bali and then mid-month when I came back to Australia. I mean, it's just the best time of year. I love summer in Australia. Yes, it's warm, but I just love the whole thing. So lots of beach activity, time, jumping in my van and going off to my favorite beaches and exploring locally, going to Sydney, hanging out with my family. We have a family speedboat, getting out on Sydney Harbour. It was pretty magical. So highlight was the innovation of reimagining my Bali trip and not going a million miles an hour in January, but actually taking the time to be out in life, enjoying family, having time with friends, detaching slightly from the control in my business, which is always a good lesson, and accepting that I could trust in this all working itself out. And when I get to February, it surely does. And I have lots to share on a very different energy when we get into my second episode of 12 Lessons in 2024. I hope you're enjoying this series. I'll be back with lesson 2 real soon. Bye for now. There are heaps more resources in the show notes. I can't wait to be back in your ears again soon. Bye for now.